This is the High School Crossfire. Welcome back.
Resolve. This House believes that adaptation should be the most urgent response to climate change. I'll begin by asking the first speaker. You actually agreed with us that climate change is inevitable. Are you aware that there are natural causes of climate change? You told us you don't agree with our status quo, and you didn't give us a reason why you don't actually agree with our status quo. See, we are working under the Green Climate Fund, which has funded and invested money in different countries for adaptation measures, and the Green Climate Fund has funded irrigation farming in Rwanda and has also constructed seawalls in LA. The Green Climate Fund has invested 1.8 trillion globally in targeted adapted areas from 2020, and in turn has received 7.1 net benefits. If that doesn't show sustainability of adaptation, then I don't know what does. You see, failure to adapt to climate change would push more than 100 million people in developing countries under the poverty line in the next decade. Failure to adapt will increase the number of people who are lacking sufficient water. We already know that there are some countries who are scarce on water. So this will actually increase the number from an estimated 3.6 billion people to more than 5 billion by 2050. Do you realize that adaptation is pricey, but mitigation is around 20 times more expensive than adaptation?
POI?
Not granted. In adaptation, we will involve in altering our behaviors and many aspects of life to live and protect ourselves from the effects of climate change. Adaptation also involves choosing where we live, how we plan our cities and settlements, and adapting infrastructure. Why are we actually choosing to adapt? We already know that we are already feeling the impacts of climate change, and it's already happening around the globe, and it's expected to increase in the coming years. Adaptation creates opportunities for innovations and economic development. Granted.
Honorable, did you get me right? I said that, I beg your pardon. Is mitigation including adaptation?
You see, I beg
your pardon. Is mitigation including adaptation?
You see, I think you didn't understand the resolution. We're not saying we're not going for mitigation, but we are saying that adaptation right now is the most urgent response to climate change. Let me continue. Adaptation creates opportunities for innovations and economic development in a way of developing new technologies for businesses to become resilient to impacts of climate change. How are we going to adapt? We are going to construct drainage systems in floodplains to control floods. We are going to develop and advise people to grow drought-resistant crops in areas where they are affected by drought. We are going to create space for river channels so as to learn to live with the water other than draining it. What happens if we don't adapt? Have you asked your question, Dad? Do you know that there is increased risk to human life and their well-being? Climate change is already causing more frequent and severe weather events like floods which is a threat to human safety. Do you know that if you don't adapt, it is going to lead to economic losses like damage of infrastructure due to the climate crisis? In summary, failure to prioritize adaptation measures could have severe consequences for human well-being, economic stability, and natural systems. We can reduce these risks and increase resilience to true impacts of climate change. In conclusion, adaptation is necessary in the face of unavoidable climate change because we already know there are natural causes of climate change. Even if global greenhouse gases emissions are significantly reduced, some of climate change is already locked in due to the past emissions. I rest my case. I remain Nari Sojanat from Kibuli SS.
Panel. Team Affirmative has come and stated that Algeria is one of the countries being faced by this problem of climatic change. What's your statistics, please? My dear panelists house, they have said that they are going to carry out adaptation in order to solve this problem of lack of sufficient water. I pose a question: how are you going how are you going to solve this problem of drought in order to solve a problem of sufficient water? My dear panel, the August House, besides all, this House believes that adaptation should be the most urgent response to climatic change. Whereas the team opposers will say that no. Instead, mitigation should have been the most urgent response to climatic change. My dear panel, the team proposers are misleading themselves. Besides all, adaptation, this refers to a state of adjusting to the current and future effects. Please don't grant it. Refers to a state of adjusting to the current and future events to happen. And mitigation is basically aimed at tackling the causes and minimizing the possible impacts of the climate change. My dear panel, my fellow opposers talked about that global warming. Global warming, by a scientist, Peter Kalmar, stated that it's carrying out 75% of the global house emission. Not granted, please. And this science was from UNEP, which is United Nations Environment Program, that global warming is basically caused by burning of fossil fuel, and it's resulting into global warming. My dear panel, it's basically from coal burning, oil and gases, and basically it's contributing 90% to carbon dioxide.
POI.
Not granted, please. My dear panel and the August House, I would like to pose a question to the team negators. They have stated that climate change is inevitable, but what causes it to be inevitable? In addition, they have talked that, I'll pose the question still, that is mitigation having adaptation recalling from adaptation?
POI.
Not granted. My dear panel, we as the team opposers, we are to terminate our reliance on fossil fuel in order to fight a problem of global warming. Remember, global warming is caused by the emission of toxins to the atmosphere, and typically they're going to emit it, number one, by carrying out reforestation. Whereby
POI.
Granted, please.
Do you understand the resolution? You're not here to solve the problem. We are here to adapt.
I do. My dear panel, we as the team negators or opposition, we are here to find the cause and to minimize it. Please quote that. In addition, you have said that where are you going to get these trees? My dear panel, the August House, we are to get our trees from the National Tree Foundation, whereby they are going to be as our implementers in terms that we as the House United Nations Environmental Program, we are to implement this by, in addition, getting trees from the National Environment Program by setting them place to place. With that, I raise my case by saying that mitigation should instead be the most urgent response to climatic change other than adaptation, because adaptation only focuses on the way of repairing and adjusting for the future, but mitigation refers to the cause and how to minimize that climate change impact. I raise my case.
This is the High School Crossfire. We'll be back in a minute.